What's up, guys? This is Mr. B coming to you with another video. Today we are going to be talking about area and perimeter. As you can see, I found a lovely village, but if there's one thing you're going to know about me, it's that I really like having a nice carpet in my houses. You might be like, Mr. Brooks, what in the world does that have to do with area and perimeter? And I'm here to tell you it has almost everything to do with area and perimeter. So to begin with, we are going to start out in the first house, which is the smallest house of the three we've found in this village. And if you look at this house, it's pretty small. You say, okay, let's get to the area and perimeter. So first up is the perimeter. The perimeter is the distance around the outside of an object. When you say, okay, well, I don't really know the distance or the length of one of these blocks. Well, that's fine. We don't know, since it's a standard block size. We can agree that each of these is the same length. What we're going to do is we're just going to call them units. So the standard length on these, or the unit, we're just going to say is a unit. And so all we need to do is find how long each side of this wall each wall in this house is, and then add those sides together. Once you've added all four sides of the house together, the length of each side, you will have the perimeter of the house, and that will be in just units. So we'll start on the side with the door, and if we count with me please, it's 1, 2, so this wall is 2 units long. And the next wall is 1, 2, 3. This wall is 1, 2 units long, and the last wall is 1, 2, 3 units long. So if you take this wall, plus this wall, plus this wall, plus this wall, you get a perimeter of 10 units. So we have 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3. Well, 2 plus 3 is 5, and 2 plus 3 again is 5, and 5 plus 5 equals 10. And like I said, because it's just measuring the length or measuring a distance, it's going to be recorded as units. So it's 10 units is the perimeter of this house. You say, okay, fine. So the perimeter is 10. 10 units. What does that have to do with area? Well, you can use the same information that we used to find the perimeter to solve the area. You can say, okay, well, what's that have to do with laying carpet? I'll explain that in just a second. But first, to find the area, you need to have the width and the length of the house. So you need to have one wall measured and one adjacent wall. And that word adjacent just means one that's next to it, one that's touching it. So if you use the first wall, again, we're going to start with the wall with the door. We're going to say 1, 2 units, and then the wall adjacent to it, or the wall next to it, is 1, 2, 3 units. So we have the length and the width, and the length is 3, and the width is 2, and we'll take those numbers, 3 and 2, and we'll multiply them together. So when we multiply 3 times 2, we get a total of 6. And in this case, it's not just going to be 6 units, and you'll see when we lay the squares down, when we lay the carpet, it literally lays down in squares. And then we said the answer was 6 units squares, or 6 units squared. So as you'll count with me, and we'll see if we're right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Very good. So we were correct. It is 6 units squared. And as you see, it actually takes up squares here to fill in the area inside of the walls. And that's the definition of area. It's the space inside of your object. Alright, so we're going to move on to the next house. And as you can see, this house is quite a bit bigger. We're going to close the door here. Alright, so in the last house, we counted all 4 sides of the walls to find the perimeter, the distance around the outside. And in this house, I don't know if I really feel like taking that much time. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video and talk to your neighbor and try to figure out if you can think of another way to come up with the perimeter of this house without counting all 4 walls. Alright, if you have unpaused the video, I hope that you have figured out that if all you have to do is count the length of one wall, or find the length of one wall, the length of the adjacent wall, add those two together, and then you can just multiply that number by 2. And because this wall is always going to be the same length as the opposite wall in a rectangle, and the width is going to always be the same as the opposite width in a rectangle, you know it's going to be the same. So if, just to show you what I mean, we can start with this wall. We'll start with the wall with the door, just like last time. 1, 2, 3 units. And this wall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, that's 3, and that's 7, so 3 plus 7 is, in fact, 10 units. Well, over here, just to prove it, we'll do it again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's, again, 3 plus 7, and that's 10. Well, that's the same length as those two walls. So when we add those together, 10 plus 10, that equals 20 units. And that's also the same as saying 3 plus 7 times 2. If you do 3 plus 7 first, that gives you 10. And then you multiply that by 2, that gives you 20. So the perimeter is 20 units. Now, we're going to find the area, and this is why how it helps to understand that area and perimeter are related, because you've already found the length and the width. So what you can do is take those numbers, 3 and 7, and just multiply them together to find the area. Some of you might be thinking, Mr. B, I can just count the squares. Well, yeah, in a house that's only got 6 square units, that's not a big deal, but this one's quite a bit more. So talk to your neighbor and try to figure out, if you've got a length of 7 and a width of 3, what would your area be in square units? So pause the video at this time and discuss that with your neighbor. That's right, it would be 21 square units, and just to be sure, we're going to count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And remember, if you're doing the area, it's got to be in units squared, or square units. We're moving on to the last house. Alright, and as you can see, in the last 2 houses we start at the wall with a door, but there's a problem. In this house, we have 2 doors. So what we're going to have to do, we're not going to count the whole way around. We're only going to count 2 walls. We're going to start with the first wall with a door, and then an adjacent wall. What I want you to do is talk to your neighbors. How can, using just 1 length and 1 width, with just that information, how can we use that to find the area and the perimeter of this house? So take this time to pause the video and talk to your neighbor. How are we going to do that, not measuring the whole way around? Well, that's right. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we already talked about this earlier, but remember, in a rectangle, each opposite wall is going to be the same length. So this wall is the same length as this wall. And the same as down here, this wall is the same length as this wall, because they're the opposites. And in a rectangle, you know opposite sides have the same length. So we're going to get started here, and we're going to say, count the length on this wall, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 units long, and the width, 1, 2, 3, 4 units long. What I would like for you to do is pause, try to come up with the area and the perimeter for this house, please. Alright, well if you did it correctly, you figured out that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units plus 4 units for the perimeter. That gives you 7 plus 4 is 11. Are we finished? No, that's right, we're not done because we haven't put the other 2 walls in. And without counting them, you know 7 plus 4 is 11 times 2 will give us 22 units for the perimeter. Remember, for the area, you can start with this wall. 7 times 4 will give us 28 units squared. And remember, we said it's got to be squares because when you start laying the carpet, you're laying it in squares. And if you'll count with me, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you for paying attention to the video, and this is the end.